The word innovation is on everyone's lips, but innovation has 1,000 faces. Blockchain, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, virtual reality, entrepreneurship, diversity, space. Innovation means new technologies, new behaviours, new mindsets. So how can we make sense of it all? How do we clarify these new dynamics to better navigate today and tomorrow's disruptions? Let's dig deeper. Let's dive into the wide world of innovation with the experts. Welcome to the AXA Live Innovation Talks.
Welcome to AXA Live Innovation Talks, a series where we explore innovation in the space of health, climate and financial inclusion. Thanks for being with us. If you want to leave comments, questions, please use all the social channels we have, YouTube, Twitter and LinkedIn. Today's topic is mind health and how we can use new innovative mind health applications to allow our society to flourish. I'm delighted to be here with my three guests. I would start with Florence Butlen. She joins us virtually. Welcome. She has a medical background with a specialty in psychiatry. She's today with the European Medecines Agency, where she leads on the topics of mental health and psychiatry. Morning, and thanks for being here.
Good morning, happy to be here.
And then I'm also delighted to have Amir Kaplan here, who is the CEO, founder, and iFeel, a platform that enhances well-being and emotional well-being. So thanks for being us here.
Thanks for having me.
And then Karima Silvent, the global head of HR of the AXA Group. And in your previous life, you have been engaged in the public and private sector around health. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So now straight into the topic of today, mind health. AXA has recently published the Mind Health Report, which was a study across 11 countries involving 11,000 people. What we try to do is to understand what the mind health is in the different countries in the population, cutting it across gender, age populations, and also how the workplaces impact mental health of people in the countries. Now, some top-line messages here. We have seen that a third of people are just getting by. We have also seen that less than 25% are flourishing. And only half, or even half of people had a moment of joy during the last 12 months. And less than 40% of the people interviewed think that the public sector is really helping them when it comes to mental health. So a lot of insights, a demanding environment, and what we want to explore today is what innovative solutions are out there to drive a better mind health in our populations so that more of us are flourishing than struggling. And with that, a question to all of you. What do you make out of these results? Perhaps I start with you, Florence.
Yes, thank you very much. So, yeah, in fact, what we've seen over the past 2 years, it's a clear increase in the anxiety and depression rates all over Europe, but of course beyond. So I think the recent data shows that the levels have almost doubled in most of the European countries. And there's been also some population who've been shown clearly more at risk than others, and that maybe deserve some attention and for the months and years to come. So I would like notably to maybe highlight the young people who clearly have been affected by the school closures, the university closure, and economic uncertainties, job loss for the one who maybe have just started in the working life. Women as well. Women have been hit disproportionately, as been quite often frontline workers, carers, nurses, and also at home with homeschooling. We've seen also an increase in domestic violence, both on women and children, at least during the first lockdown in many countries. So I think the reason for all of that, it's quite obvious that there are contextual factors such as confinement, quarantine, fear of getting sick or having lost someone from the disease. But there are also a number of factors who maybe are more much linked to the virus itself. And there are some studies, there's some evidence pointing to an effect, a direct effect on the virus, on the brain, a recent study published in a very high ranking scientific journal has shown that almost a third of the COVID-19 survivors will present at some point 6 months after they've been recovered some neuropsychiatric symptoms, whether it's anxiety or depression, for example. So maybe we have to be careful of what's coming next and to get prepared. So I think any initiatives that could help in this respect is very, very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks probably good lead to you, Amir. What do you make out of these numbers and
I have two main conclusions from these results, which we also see in our work. One is we need to reach out to millions of people, because if you're talking about 30%, it means millions of people in each country. How do we do that? With scalable solutions, because at the end, you need to reach out to many people at the same time. And the second part is we need different solutions for different people, because actually people who are getting by need a total different approach and care than people who are really suffering now from something that maybe they cannot go out of their house or perform. And with that, these are my two main conclusions: scalable solutions and customized to different needs.
Yeah, and absolutely, given what Florence said, that it's needed. Yeah, it seems to be very widespread and deep. So
yeah,
thank you. Karima.
First of all, I would encourage everyone to read that study, because I thought it was very, very interesting and it goes deep. Secondly, what it taught me is that the gap is big. When you mentioned it, 75% of people who are not flourishing, it's a big gap, and it's about the toll we all have taken through the pandemic. And for me, it means that we need to talk more about mind health. We need to act more and faster on mind health. And my last comment is the fact that all of us thought that this spring or this summer we will move back to some more positivity. And with the tragedy in Ukraine and other dimensions, we see that anxiety and concerns are all around. So I'm a bit concerned about that. So I think it adds an additional layer and impetus to bring mental health and mind health at the center.
Thank you, Karim. And I think it's probably a good lead for you, Florence. I mean, you mentioned it. We had 2 years of pandemic. Then we have the situation now in Ukraine, which again drives anxiety around the population. And that on top of what you already laid out, Florence. What does it do to us? I mean, what does all of this do to us as individuals and countries?
Yeah, I would absolutely concur with that. I mean, it's the population has really exhausted own psychological resources, and I mean the resistance, the resilience of people has been pushed quite far. I mean, over those past 2 years, and it's not over yet. We've seen the figures are not going down, in terms of levels of anxiety or depression, not yet. And maybe there are also some reactions that we are not seeing, like the post-traumatic stress disorders, burnout, not even talking about healthcare professionals who are really who have given everything, during this crisis, but also the general population. So it's true that now having such a stressful event as a war, on the scale of stressful events, I mean, war obviously score very high on a population who is already vulnerable and who has already kind of exhausted own resources in terms of psychological way of coping with events. It's something we have to be especially careful about. But I think overall, this crisis has shown that psychological well-being is something that is very fragile, and we need to make in place a number of measures to be sure that we take things seriously and early enough, because the more you wait, the more difficult it's going to be. I think it's like cancer, mental health, to be honest. I mean, the delays in the management can be very serious, can have a big impact on the performance of any treatment that is given to the patient. So really, early intervention is key.
Thank you. And you did mention also somewhere in there, burnout of the workplace is a place where people have been virtually most of the time. Karima, we see now companies stepping much more into the space of mind health and mental health. And so what do you think, what is the responsibility of corporations when it comes to mind health?
What I have observed across those past 2 years, and I've been, at AXA we have 2,000 HR professionals, and I'm connected with many HRDs across the world. What I have observed is that because there is a positive in all crises, one of the positives is that health is at the center. And the crisis enabled health to be more at the center, because during the crisis we had to take care more of the employees. We had to implement health solutions, be it on physical and mental health, to protect more interventions of occupational health doctors, etc. So I think this is a good news. And the other good news is that managers and employees stepped in with more empathy, more how are you type of interactions in the teams. And for me, this is the good news. I believe this trend, which is more responsibility and more action of corporates on mental health and health at large, is here to stay. The question I see around is how to do it and how to encourage people to speak up. I think we are going to talk about the taboo of mental health. I think it's still there. And so there is a responsibility of companies not only to implement solutions, but also to create the culture so that those solutions are used by the people around us.
You're a big AXA employee. I can say you and the team has done a wonderful job in doing this. I think we had a lot of support, and it does make a difference, I think, for many people if it's led by the front.
Yeah, I agree.
Amir, you are the founder of iFeel, a well-being platform that is now here, and you work with different countries of AXA. So tell me a bit more, what is the story behind it? Why did you launch this? What did you want, or do you want to achieve?
So actually, each one of our founders in the company has some connection. My personal connection is, first of all, my wife is a therapist, but also went to therapy for flight anxiety. And 10 years ago, I saw her listening through WhatsApp before before liftoff of the plane. She listened to an audio note from her therapist. And then I said, wait, this is replicable. And we actually work in the platform of iFeel on creating many millions of interactions with patients where they can save and get a lot of the information from their therapist, not always in live, because as was mentioned here, there are no more resources. We cannot duplicate the therapist, so we need a blended approach that, first of all, drives a humanistic approach that the therapists are leading, but with assistance of technology. And that was our goal. It didn't start like that. It started by a simple application, but now we are there after several years.
And having this now on, as I mentioned before, in quite a few countries rolled out, what do you see, what works? What are the key success factors? What makes it work really on the ground with real people?
We see several interesting things. First of all, the need is cross countries. And this is something very interesting because 4 years ago, people talked a lot about culture. What is the culture in France? What is the culture in Spain? What is the culture in US, UK, Argentina, which is very advanced in therapy? But actually now, after the last 2 years, the demand is very, very high across cultures. This is one thing very important. The second thing is we really see that many companies want to help their employees, if it's physical health and if it's mental health. But we entered into some companies that do many initiatives that some of them are not always measured correctly, and some of them are very generic because that's the most scalable solutions today. And then it's very difficult to reach out to the specific person with a specific need. And that's where we come in and help, actually. We organize the initiatives together, but we also allow the employees to engage how they want to consume the support in different ways. If it's in a more personal approach, by video, by chat, by our platform itself. And then we really see that we change company culture because we organize many initiatives. Again, all HRs in the last 2 years are doing a lot to help. And this is very important. But it's not always easy to scale, and we'll talk about it. So we help them organize all the initiatives in one place and reach out to all the employees, not just the ones in need or the ones who are able to say they're in need.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. If I might change a bit gear now and coming back to you, Florence, I mean, what would you then say to people who are struggling and have tried out many things, more traditional things, innovative things? So what would your advice be to people who are still there and on how to find the path from struggling into a better, healthier space up to flourishing?
Yes, thank you. I think first it's important, this question of whether or not there are some diseases, which are more shameful than others. And what I would certainly emphasize the fact that, there are 10 millions of people in Europe who at some point in time, and during their life will experience some type of psychological or psychiatric problems or disorders. And it's not a rare, condition, and certainly not. So I really like this approach of integrated health. I think what this crisis has shown us as well is that the mind, the brain belongs to the body as well. So it's not like we cannot disentangle, both. I mean, if you have a physical problem, we knew that before, but it has been kind of reinforced by the crisis. When you have a physical problem, then you may have also, consequently some difficulties to adapt, to adjust, and vice versa. So I think there is a number of information that is very important to communicate outside, and any ways to reach on to the larger audience possible. I think it's like that you will be able to change the culture and the way we approach health, our own health, and our whole well-being.
Thank you. And again, opposite large populations, AXA has a big employee population. So Karima, how do you do this? How do you go and tell them, let me help you? How do you really do this on the ground? How do you open up the conversation with the employees to help them?
I think maybe I would before coming to your question, Claudio, I would insist on and building on what Florence said, on the fact that health is holistic health. And I think, Amir, you said it as well. And this is very important to insist on the physical part as well. And Claudio, what we did first at AXA is that we implemented this health policy, global health policy for all our employees, which goes a lot on prevention and also on physical health. Because when I see the numbers, 70% of people who delayed or stopped completely physical checkup during the pandemic, it's a disaster. These are future illnesses that are not diagnosed. So I think that this was first what we tried to do. Regarding the conversation, I do believe in really leadership role modeling and the fact that we need to just show it's normal to speak about those things. And so what we did is that we did many initiatives encouraging people to talk. We did some town halls, and yourself, Claudio, with some of your colleagues, I'm very grateful because you participated to one of those town halls where we had almost 3,000-4,000 employees connected and people could watch the replay. What was it about? Just to share very genuinely personal stories, to show that it's okay not to be okay, especially in cultures where performing in companies, let's be honest, is something where people sometimes would fear that if I open up saying that I went through stress, I went through a burnout, I went through whatever, I will be considered as not an underperformer, but someone. So this is still there around, and what we want to break that. Hence those initiatives to give the opportunities to managers, leaders, to express that, yes, it's part of normal life, and it's part of corporate life as well. And we are here to help. There are some helps available. You can choose to keep that in the private sphere, but you can also choose to elect one colleague or to go to the various helplines that we have implemented. So that's gradually that we are trying to do step by step, but to make it a systemic change in the organization.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the things we also saw in the study, that in general workplaces, people feel that they become more empathetic in general, and that the stigma around mind health is less. I think it still varies very much depending which country you're in, but I think we see the right trend. Now, thank you for that. I will move us on, and we have a short video on iFeel. So if I could ask the team to play it.
Estos 2 últimos años han sido muy duros para todos. Hemos vivido situaciones que nadie podía esperar, que han sido un auténtico reto para nuestra salud mental. Nuestra rutina se ha visto alterada y las empresas han tenido que adaptarse y dar prioridad al fomentar el bienestar emocional de sus trabajadores, porque la pandemia ha acelerado todos los procesos que estaban en marcha en el ámbito del trabajo. Y por eso estoy encantado de colaborar con iFeel, la plataforma líder en el fomento del bienestar emocional en las empresas modernas, una plataforma online que promueve el apoyo emocional en las compañías, poniendo a disposición de sus empleados los mejores especialistas en psicología para que su calidad de vida mejore, por tanto la mejora en el ámbito laboral y en su vida personal. Con iFeel comparto valores y objetivos, por eso estoy muy contento de empezar a trabajar con ellos para visibilizar la importancia de cuidar nuestra salud mental. Por mi propia experiencia personal sé que es muy importante pedir ayuda emocional en los momentos difíciles que a todos nos toca vivir. A mí me pasó en el 2009, coincidiendo con la mejor época del Barça. Hubo un momento en que no me sentía yo mismo, perdí la ilusión y decidí pedir ayuda a los médicos del club y gracias a ese soporte pude salir de una situación muy complicada. Creo que cada vez más empresas en el mundo están dando más importancia a invertir en el bienestar emocional de sus empleados y cuidar ese desarrollo porque es un win-win para todos y es vital que demos muchísima importancia para construir ese buen ambiente y ese bienestar emocional para todos.
Well, in the video we have seen Andres Iniesta, who was still probably a very good footballer, one of the best. So he's sharing obviously how important it is to ask for emotional support and help in our lives. So where does iFeel make a difference, and how does it make more accessible specialism and support for everyone in the population?
I think this video connects exactly to what Karima mentioned on the fact that reaching out is for everyone. And this is very important. I mean, in pandemic, we saw that managers had their kid coming to the video session and everything became a bit more humanistic gaps. Everyone was perceived not just as an employee, but as a person, and that is working in work environment. And actually with that message, we want to enter as many companies as possible. And the message here is, how can we reach out to everyone? What does it mean? It's more like the health initiatives in some way. You're doing the checkup, let's do the checkup. You want a follow-up, you want a professional to check with you, you want to engage sometimes with content and education, sometimes you want to chat with a professional just on a small topic that helps solve everything in a few weeks. Or on the other side, sometimes you need real help and you need to reach out to people who are in need and need therapy and need 10 weeks, 12 weeks or more in sessions. The goal with the iFeel platform is to allow all these people together to interact in one place. And following on, our life is a journey at the end. And maybe today I'm fine, but in 10 months I'll need help, and then I'll be fine again for another year. And we have different stages of life. Young people have specific goals. Parents have other challenges. And managers have different challenges than some of their employees. So the goal is to kind of unify all these needs on one platform. And we see by that engagement rates are skyrocketing. And it's a good thing because we are the platform that wants high engagement. Yeah. We're not looking just for reaching out to the people in need today. As was mentioned, proactive approach and prevention are key in the future of this let's say, mind health goals that we all have here, common goal together.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right that much has changed over the last years. I still remember the first video when this one guy, BBC, had the kid coming in, it went viral. I think by now this has happened millions of times. It's just normal. I think there will be a non-use nowadays. So things have changed. If I just probe all of you together, how do you think that in the future employees and employers need to work together to have a go at this? Perhaps if I start with you, Florence.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a topic I have very recently been working on while being at one of the Paris hospital a few years ago. I was working as a psychiatrist and in a clinic for burnout and stress-related, work-related stress disorders. So I had really, so I think yeah, what is really important, I think, in this respect is it's more indeed that company are trying to change the cultural environment with respect to mental health. And I do think that if you have high management involved, even sharing stories, you know, personal challenges, I think that's a big change, because then what we've seen also during this crisis is that there are people, you know, who were deemed very strong, who were very respected by their colleague in the sense they've been here forever, they have climbed the scale up, you know, and still they've been through, I mean, very serious psychological reaction during that period. And that's okay, because it's not, you're not either, you know, in the weak box or the strong box. I mean, you may have ups and downs. And even people who are very experienced, it has nothing to do with your inner qualities. So I think but it's not going to happen in one day, but definitely if, you know, companies are moving towards this change, cultural change, step by step, that's how you get there, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think you are right. Just expressing that life is sometimes tough, and that we all have up and downs, and it's okay, and that you can ask for help is probably a big step forward. If I may come to you, Karima, on the same subject, but perhaps also if you could just explore a bit more, what does it mean for leadership in a big corporation? I mean, how does it change how you would look at leadership in big organizations when it comes to this new area?
I think we talked a lot about empathy since we started, and really, to me, the second positive of this pandemic crisis, is to have really shown in our organizations that we are all humans. We knew it, I think, and many were living it through their leadership style, but still, in corporates, very often, you know, being very vulnerable was not part of leadership. And I think that because we went through this moment where everybody was vulnerable, this has brought a lot and immense benefits to the workplace. But I do believe as well that leaders need to be trained. And on mental health, it goes with investing. And so that's also my call to leaders and to those who are watching us, that mental health is a topic where you need to invest to learn, to understand, because you need to understand yourself, and you need to be able to understand the mechanics, because it goes with many dimensions, which are organizational dimensions, which are personal dimensions. And as leader, you have a power to act, and you have a power to send symbols in your organization. And what you say matters a lot to the others. How you behave matters a lot to the others. So that's why what we are trying to do at AXA is to educate leaders. And we had that program, Claudio, you were in as well, where we did a partnership with Colombia, starting with the top leaders, going through a program. And also we are bringing materials to managers, and we have 5,000 managers who are trained, shorter modules. But I believe in that. I believe that when you understand more about it, you can leverage all the muscles of leadership, be it your talk, be it your behaviors, be it how you interact, and your own stories, as you were saying, because you need to be comfortable. You have leaders who are not comfortable with sharing their own stories. It comes with practice, and it comes with benevolence, and just so voilà. So these are the dimensions we are trying to work on. But please, for the leaders who are watching us, build on your knowledge on mental health, because it will change your leadership, and it will change also the actions that you are taking around you.
Thank you for that. And I think also the study will show that across the population, we did ask, it's places where they had good support from the companies, they are 1.5 times more likely to flourish. Yes. So it does make a difference for the teams, for the company, for society. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Amir, what do you make out of what we just discussed?
First of all, I cannot agree more with Karima about the investment. It's not just money, it's also time. And to put it as a priority at the end, this priority will at the end of the day make the organization flourish, because it's relationships, and how you are with yourself is how you connect with others at the end of the day. We also saw something very interesting. Global organizations in the last 2 years became kind of subcultural movements, because Karima was in charge of people all over the world, for example, and we see it with our global clients. They were in charge of many people on their health, and now moving forward, they have new challenges, like the new way of work, which is something that is clearly connected to mental health. And even in the last 30 days, we are helping clients of ours with the Ukrainian situation and people leaving their home and with tragedies. And you see that organizations are taking responsibility in places that in the past were government responsibility. And in that way, we really believe that mental health is one of the key parts. You have to take care of the mental health of your employees, because as this subcultural movement, you want them to get access to the same resources and to flourish together.
Thank you. If I may come back to you, Karima, you did launch, as you said before, 2 years ago, the health and well-being policy, which was all-encompassing. It was not just, it was really health in its widest form. If you look back, what do you think has worked? And also if you look forward, what are the new things you think we need to adapt and apply there for the next years to come?
I think what has worked is that people are taking the responsibility, and basically the usage of the services is good in terms of the physical, for example, checkup. It works very well. We did launch this digital checkup, both physical and mental, and we had 33,000 of people responding and getting a personal report on their health, on which they acted. And the word of mouth, the fact that we are putting it at the center, we talk about it. So all that, it's a journey. So I'm very modest here. It's a journey, but I think all that works. When I look ahead, there are more challenges ahead. There are some challenges ahead. I see remote working and hybrid work as a big opportunity or more work-life balance, but I see also the pitfalls or the difficulties, and I think hyperconnection, difficulty to disconnect is one of the next challenges, because for many people, they move from their bed to their office, everything is connected, and I see more and more difficulties to disconnect. So I do believe that corporates and need more rules and internal rules for disconnection. And the second piece I see ahead of us is isolation, risk of isolation. I know that there has been that trend. It's very trendy to full remote. And I don't believe in that. I'm not a full, so I'm sorry if I seem a bit old-fashioned, but I think human beings need connection, and I think emotional connections give you energy. And so I'm mindful that, yes, hybrid working, a mix of remote and face-to-face interaction in the offices is good, but full remote in the long term is something I'm absolutely scared about. Because of isolation and other derailers that we could see over time. So that these are a little bit the things that keep me awake at night.
Thanks, Karima. Plenty of things in there, and I would absolutely agree with you. I mean, connection, human connection, I don't think you can replace that. I think that's what we all need to be healthy. But I'll connect some of the things you just mentioned. Technology, you mentioned it. All the things we do have today. If I may come to you, Florence, I mean, we have a lot of tech, social media. I have 2 little girls, so I see how they're exposed to it. How much do you think there is almost a pressure out there to create this image that we are all great and flourishing and at best at any point in time? But also, where do you see that there are pitfalls, but also opportunities, with new tech and what we have with us to create a better place?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's quite fascinating, obviously. We are at the beginning of the digital era, and there are many opportunities. I mean, in the field of digital health, which I know obviously best, we can see that we are going in a great variety of direction. And I think what's very important is to keep the focus on the person, the patient, if you're talking about digital health. And you have to make sure as well that you control, what you are doing, and you need a bit of regulation, limitation, but it's not because it's not bad, necessarily to regulate or to restrict yourself. At the very end, I think if you have a focus intervention, you will get really the most out of it, and you will not lose energy, you will lose time, money. You will invest in something that is really valuable for the patient if you are talking digital health, but I mean, it can be any type of digital tools applied to a broader population. And I think it's quite interesting. Obviously, the young people, we're talking about reaching out to the people, and the young people, they are much more used to, even us, of playing with those social media, new technologies. But I found it quite interesting to see that the giants of the tech industry in the Silicon Valley, most of them, they're very, very restrictive with the use of such tools by their own kids. I mean, and it's also recently Elon Musk, he said that he was afraid of what could come out of artificial intelligence if we are not sure of what we are doing with it. So I think it's fair to raise questions and to be careful and to have a stepwise approach, and not to rush into big programs, whatever the field is. It's also what we try to do at EMA from the digital health viewpoint. When we meet with the companies developers, we try to have the right expert around the table, to have a collaborative approach, and together to move on to focus on the patient and really to see what could be of value that the traditional technologies would not bring. And I think if you have always in mind that the technologies, as they have to serve the human beings and they have to be controlled to make sure that this purpose is fit, well, probably you are going into the right direction, but also you are making sure that what you are doing at the very end of the day, it will pay off, So that's my personal viewpoint.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you also brought in an interesting element about kids. At least for UK, what we have seen during the survey, 80% of parents think that it's important that we talk to the kids about mental health and physical health. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's great to talk. What goes is even better to be a role model for our own children. As you said, I mean, there are some rules and disciplines probably required. And I think what the best thing is to engage them with it so that they become just part of their fabric. So when they grow up, it's just normal to them to look after themselves in a balanced way. But coming to you, Amir, again, now we're talking about a little bit what we have today. You have a platform that does a great job today. What is your vision? What is next? How does this new model fit into a metaverse environment? Is human touch even important? What are your thoughts about where you want iFeel to evolve?
So I'll start with a story. When we, 5 years ago, started to create a movement of therapists from the physical space of the one-on-one to the online, there were some companies that mentioned that VR and AR is the future, and they started with that. Now, we really believe in the platform approach. If you build the correct platform where people manage their life on it, on the day-to-day, in a very simple way, then it doesn't matter then the mean of communication. For example, if I came today to HR manager, such as Karima, and told her, I have a VR solution for all your employees, what would she tell me? Let's talk in 5 years, right? So I really believe that right now we need to use always the platforms where the people who are consuming our products are, and then it's very easy to move to the future of VR or even the metaverse, but when it will be widely common, because we want all employees to use us and not just the ones who have the VR set at home or whatever the technology is. So we are building the platform, and then the mean of communication will be less relevant, and we will always be able to upgrade the platform into those means of communication.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I'll come already to the final question, but for all of you, if I may, and I'll come to you then first, Amir, is if you look back, what is the best advice you ever got around mind health, mental health, and that you would like to share?
So around even 6-7 years ago, like not a lot before we opened the company, someone told me, therapy is for everyone. It's a privilege, so it cannot be for everyone. So now we're doing other things, but to take care of your mental health is for everyone, and that's also connected to the campaigns we are running at iFeel. I feel it on myself, and I feel it on all the people I'm working with. Now, it doesn't mean everyone needs to do now a year of one-on-one with a therapist, but everyone needs to put it in the top priority as the physical health. And when you balance both of these, is where you perform as a parent, as a family member, and as a part of a business community.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you said something really interesting, is just taking care of yourself to be able then to be there for the community, for family and so on. I think that's a big realization that a lot of people also had during the last years, that it is important to look after ourselves. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Florence, any your thoughts on advice for our viewers?
Yeah, I would obviously agree that it's important to convey this message that taking care of yourself, it's not only physical, it's psychological. And for the young population, I really appreciate the video from the footballer. I think it's the young people, they are very keen, to hear that from celebrities. It has an impact on them, and that's a good use of the social networks. We are talking about good or bad use of social networks. I think it's also just the beginning of this usage, and if we regulate in a sense that it's used in a proper way that is effective and helping people. I think it's what we can get from them. But I think overall the period has been quite challenging. I think that's the message I would like to convey for everyone. And yeah, I guess we need a bit of false optimism as well, especially now that we have the Ukraine war, and I don't know. It's just to maybe put a bit of a more lighter note, but I always think of this song from Eric Idle, in the Monty Python movie, always look at the bright side of life. And I think we really have to together to make it different in the months to come, and try to improve our society, and that's a lesson learned from the COVID. We have to learn some lessons, hopefully, for the best.
Thank you, and I love that thought that obviously things are sometimes difficult, but we should never let go of having a positive view on the future. So thanks for that. Karima, if I come last to you, any thoughts?
The best advice I had was in 2018 because I was going through a personal challenge, which was to be a caregiver of my sister who was going through a critical illness. And at the same time, I was taking a very challenging role because I was becoming the HRD of our company. And one of my colleagues who was looking at me struggling with both dimensions told me, it's just like in the plane, you need to put your mask on before helping the other, and find your practice. Find the practice that will help you cool down. And I found my practice, which is meditation, which I'm trying to do as regularly as possible. And so that my encouragement is exactly that one. It's just like to help others, you need to help yourself first. And find your practice, whatever it is, go for a walk, go with friends, play music, meditate. But you need that space where in the scheme of things, because we go all through challenges, you have a place where you can a little bit relax and recharge. So that's my recommendation.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Well, first of all, thank the three of you for the conversation, for the time spent, but also for all the insights. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope our viewers too. And with that, I'll try to summarize from my point of view what we discussed today. Firstly, I think it's a big recognition that life is sometimes tough. Yeah, we all have up and downs, and it's absolutely normal that we go through this. And the importance also when we are in more difficult situations to open up, look for emotional support from the people around us. The second one is really the importance of looking after ourselves. We should really look after ourselves as we do for people we do care. By making sure that we are healthy physically and mentally, that's the way we can be the best for the ones we love and support them. And the third one, how innovative solutions, as we have seen today, can help to give more personalized support for people, but also scale it up so that much more people can benefit from the innovation that we have and the support we can deploy to people. Now with that, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please look up on all the websites where you will find more material on the Mind Health Survey, iFeel and ADA. Thanks for being with us. Thanks again for the guests here, and have a good day.